love going to Broadway shows, but can't go now because Broadway's closed. Join tour guide Tim and Belasco too as they bring Broadway history to you. Grab your Broadway passport for what's in store on your virtual Broadway tour.
This week's theater, the Longacre, with the name intricately etched in stone above, harkens back to Times Square's early days, pre-1904, when it was known as Longacre Square. The facade was the last Beaux Arts theater ever designed on Broadway, with lavish ornamentation. Comparing the theater today with the photo of it from 1913, you'll notice that the only main difference between the two is the marquee. Glass awning with the two electronic light bulb-filled marquees on either side have long since been replaced with a more contemporary, straightforward design. Otherwise, it's nearly the same 107 years later. The Longacre also marks the last theater ever designed by noted theatrical architect Henry Hertz, who, separately and with his partner Hugh Tallant, designed the New Amsterdam, Lyceum, Schubert, and Booth prior to this. Hertz's assistant, who we'll learn about next week, ironically chose a more straightforward, simple design, so the Longacre is the last of our lavish early 1900s theaters. And by 1913, Hertz and Tallant were no longer working together, so the interior features a large chandelier, something that Hugh Tallant believed was a distraction to both actors and audience. With a multi-million-dollar renovation in 2008, much of the interior of the Longacre looks exactly the same as it did when it first opened, with a few more added bathrooms, thankfully. It's a rare moment to find someone who likes sports as much as theater. Perhaps the main commonality between the two industries is the superstitious nature that surrounds them both. Enter producer Harry Frazee, original owner of the Longacre and the Boston Red Sox. After a number of disappointing flops at the Longacre, Frazee sold his theater. Just a few years later, he bought the Boston Red Sox, fresh off their World Series win in 1916. After a few prosperous years, the team's winning streak started to fade and Frazee began selling off players. Now, if you know anything about baseball history, I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. Frazee made the decision to sell Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees. With this awful decision came consequences, the curse of the Bambino. Rumors circulated that Frazee had committed to the transaction to fund his struggling production of No No Nanette. This was later debunked. While he was looking to keep some theatrical endeavors afloat, it's unclear whether his sports decisions had a direct connection to his Broadway pursuits. Many believe this bad sale was the curse of a nearly 100-year-long losing streak for the Boston Red Sox and cast a negative cloud around the only theater he had built on Broadway. Is it all superstition, or did that one sale have a negative impact across two industries? What do you think? Some theaters are deemed lucky, others less so. The proof, they say, is in the pudding. Looking at the Longacre's theatrical history, we can see that it's had a spotty history of success stories. The theater is a medium-sized house at just over 1,000 seats, so it's played home to both plays and musicals. Well, it started with an absolute flop called Are You a Crook, which ran for 12 performances. Its first musical, Adele, fared better. The next 50 years were hit and miss. In 1969, writer William Goldman published The Season, a candid look at Broadway. He explores the ins and outs of the Broadway landscape by exploring that specific season. How did the Longacre fare then? Goldman called it a bad theater. He reasoned that since it was known then as unlucky, even if hit shows were ideal for the size of the theater, producers would take those to other theaters, perpetuating the unlucky cycle. In the last 20 years, the unlucky streak has held true. Few shows have returned a profit. Maybe Harry Frazee's Babe Ruth decision is to blame all these years later. Very often, if you want to hear the real juicy stories about a theater, you have to look no further than the backstage crew. After all, they spend the most amount of time in the theater, and as productions come and go, they remain with the building. One of my favorite roles at a theater is the stage door attendant. Sometimes they are actors themselves, as is the case of my friend Bill McCauley, who has an incredible resume of Broadway shows and beyond, and is the friendly face you see at the Broadway Theater. Reagan Kimmel has worked as the Longacre stage doorman for over a decade, and with a lot of downtime as part of his job, he has mastered wire bending. When you walk down the alley alongside the 1913 exterior wall of the theater, you are greeted with a line of wire structures themed to each show that's played there during Kimmel's tenure. They started with some extra wire left over from the 2008 renovations and have developed into one wire mural for each show that he hangs backstage while a show is in residence. When a show closes, it's added to the alleyway and has developed into a sort of wire museum of the theater's recent history. And during my research, it's certainly the most artistic, historic preservation that I've ever come across.
Hello! Happy Saturday noon on Broadway. My name is Tim Dolan, if you don't know me. Thank you for joining us as part of our Virtual Broadway Tour Series. Every week we're coming to you live with someone who has worked at the theater we're featuring that week. And this week we are joined by the incredible Caitlyn Kinnan from the Prom at the Longacre Theater. For those that aren't familiar with me or Broadway Up Close, as I said, my name is Tim Dolan. I'm an actor and the owner of Broadway Up Close walking tours in New York City. For the past 10 years, we've been hitting the sidewalks of Times Square, unearthing history, secrets, ghost stories, fun facts, all the things you didn't know that you really want to know about Broadway and its 41 theaters. I have an entire team, my green team, that are all actors and stage managers that are your windows and eyes to our weird theatrical lives. Last year, we opened our gift shop in the middle of Times Square with our 6-foot-tall Broadway sign that you may have seen on Instagram, 150 light bulbs, 6 feet tall, currently not on display because of this thing called the global pandemic. But in other times that aren't related to COVID-19, it's always there. In addition to the 5 exterior tours that we offer this past fall, we opened our first interior tour, which was a dream come true. We do tours inside the Hudson Theater, the oldest, from 1903. For more info on those tours, for our gift shop, which is all online, you can head to www.broadwayupclose.com. You shouldn't do that now. You should stay here and hang out with me and Caitlyn. And then when we're done, you should go and buy things and support local people and all of those things. I never envisioned March 12th, what we call Red Thursday in the tour guide community, the day everything kind of just blew up in our face. Started with one usher who tested positive, who had handed out some playbills. And then it seems like mere minutes later, it all just kind of unraveled from there, as I'm sure you know. I thought when they first made the announcement, maybe we'll be closed for a month. All right, I could do a month. And then that turned into 2 months. And then now 6 months. And then probably a year, TBD, who knows? None of us know. It's this little thing called COVID-19 making our lives really great. So I thought, I missed connecting with theater goers. I missed just seeing friends in the neighborhood, in the wonderful side neighborhood streets of Times Square. And so I thought we're going to bring it online. So we have our virtual Broadway tour, 41 theaters, 41 weeks, because I'm insane. We're starting with the oldest and we're moving forward in time chronologically, which brings us to week 12. We're just over 25% of the way through, which makes it the Longacre Theater all week. I hope you've enjoyed all the history, the fun facts, the weird stories of this incredible, beautiful old building. How is today going to work? For today's series, we'll learn all about Caitlyn's theatrical journey, her time working at the Longacre and the Prom. If you have any questions for her or me along the way, drop them in the comments. You should also right now, while you're looking at my smiling face, you should in the comments say hello, and you should tell me where you're from so we know who's watching and who we're interacting with. Some of you submitted Instagram questions online, so we'll also throw those into the mix. And I think that's it. So without further ado, join me in welcoming Broadway's Caitlyn Kinnan.
Hello.
Hey, happy earliest morning ever for you on the rock.
Good morning. It's lovely. I'm on the West Coast, so it is a sensible 9:03 a.m.
I definitely did not know that when I asked you to do this. And I was like, wait,
fine.
You're not here anymore. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no.
I willingly said yes to it, so it's my own fault.
Okay, great. We'll call that mutual fault.
Like yes to anything for you because you're amazing,
You're
and
a
I'm
dream.
so excited to be here.
Hey, thank you. We're so glad to have you. Like I was saying to you, I was like, you have such a great following. You have such a great response from people, which I always love. I love to see when people are like so supportive of just a human in general. Whatever they're doing is always very exciting.
I
So we'll
got some
talk.
good people.
You have some great people. So we'll talk about those people in a bit. What I want you to start with, and for those who aren't your people and don't know everything about you and your life, I want you to tell us like where you grew up, when you were first maybe exposed to theater and when the theater bug hit. And then if you went to school for it, and then get us maybe all the way until you got to like New York City. And then we'll talk about New York City life and Broadway debut and Tony Award nominations and fancy things.
Amazing. Okay, so the theater bug hit me at a very early age. I grew up outside of Seattle, Washington, and that's where I'm now. It's very exciting. I'm back in my home. I grew up there. I started doing theater when I was 3 years old, and it's kind of just been what I do my entire life. I love it so much.
And
But
what
yes, I
was
started
at
doing
3 years old? What do you like? Is it like a dance studio situation? Is it like children's
At
theater? What is
three, it's children's theater. I have an older sister, and my mom enrolled her in theater camp. And because I was the younger sister, I was like, I want to do that too. So I also did that. And so we did like theater camps and classes and like kids shows and all of that growing up. It was actually really cool. I got to, since I'm back in my hometown, been like driving around, and we passed what's called the Grange, which is like where I grew up doing theater, and like we drive past it, and it's like, oh my God, I remember spending hours there just like creating magic from like this like truly 3 years old up until I left Washington at 16. Like it was my theater home, this like weird
crazy?
shoebox of a place.
And does it
Um,
feel the same? Does it feel smaller? Does it feel like, yep, that's exactly how I remember it. It looks the same.
That's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was always this like super weird space. It's on a fairground. It's so bizarre.
sure.
I'll have to like video it and show people because it's lovely. And I think tells you a lot about me as a person that I grew up doing theater there. But yeah, so I did theater. I did my first professional show in Seattle when I was 11. I did Annie. And so I started working in Seattle professionally when I was 11, and I kept
Crazy.
doing children's theater, and then I did some like professional theater. And then when I was 15, I got this crazy idea to go to an open call for the national tour of Spring Awakening. And that led me to make my Broadway debut when I was 16 years old.
Like,
So
come on. Okay, so I
like
was
what?
obsessed. I think as most people were with Spring Awakening. I saw the second preview. I
Yes.
randomly walked past the Eugene O'Neill and was like, what is this? And they were like, we have one ticket left, student rush, eighth row, orchestra. And
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
sure. And
Yes.
it changed my life. I was like, I walked out and I was like, oh my gosh, that was
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, so you're 14 when you auditioned, 15 when you auditioned.
I was 15 when I auditioned.
And
Yes.
what had you seen the show?
I had
What did you
not seen the
sing?
show. My sister, I so like clearly remember this moment in time before the audition. Because we like always listen to show tunes. My sister had gotten the CD, the original Broadway cast recording, and we were like driving somewhere, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to listen to this new show." And so we like put it in the CD player in the car, and we were just listening to it, and I was like, "What is this?" Because it was like nothing that we
No.
had like seen or heard before. So it was crazy. But yeah, I went to this open call. I ended up actually singing from the show. I sang My Junk and did a scene from the show. And then I got, I think, like 3 callbacks in New York, and they were like, hey, so you're actually too young to go on tour with the show, but we want you to be in the Broadway company. And I was like, oh darn.
Yeah, oh, that sucks. I
Bummer.
guess. What?
This is insane. But yeah, so they called and they were like, hey, the girl who's playing the role now isn't planning on leaving the show yet on Broadway, so hang tight, we'll let you know what happens. And so 6 months later they called and they were like, hey, can you move to New York in 2 weeks and start rehearsals for this?
Come
And I was like,
on.
you bet I can.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. It's okay. So we're in New York. You're here. You're 16.
we're in New York. We made it. Yeah, I was
Oh
16.
my gosh. You can't even like
Horrible.
vote or do things. You can't even buy cigarettes.
No,
Not that you should smoke, but like those seem like life milestones. That's crazy.
really though.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then what happens from there? Then it's like now you're in New York City and you're
Then
16.
yeah, I'm in New York City. I've got a full-time job at 16. It's very strange. But yeah, I make my Broadway debut. The show runs for another, because I came into the show like we like just after I joined, we like just hit the 2-year mark.
Okay.
And so I joined like close to 2 years in, and so we had 6 months left,
Yep.
and we like did the last 6 months, and then at that point I was 17, and I was like, I should stay here. I should stay and see what happens. And I'm very glad that I did.
We are all very glad you did. Okay. So then, like, my favorite moment of life is seeing if people remember, especially you, because you were so young, of like your Broadway debut, first time stepping on the Eugene O'Neill stage at 16.
Yeah.
Like, what do you remember it? What was the feeling? Was it anticlimactic, very climactic?
Kind of a combination of all of those things. It was weird because like I was stepping into a show. And so like some of these people had been doing the show for 2 years, you know? And so for them, like my first show was just like another day. They were like, okay, whatever. But for me, it's my Broadway debut, you know, and that's like insanity. And I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember specifically the end of Mama Who Bore Me reprise, which is like the first time that like the girls
All the
sing
women in the
anything.
back, and it's like,
Just
here we go.
yes.
Yes.
And so I remember like walking down stage and the final like moment of it. And then we all like go off stage and we have like a minute backstage. And I remember like that final moment and then going backstage and being like, I just made my Broadway debut.
Oh my God, I
What?
just got chills. That's
You
crazy.
know?
Oh,
Yeah,
come on.
it's insane. So that's like a moment that I hope to hold on to for a while.
Yeah, it's those moments. It's those feelings of like, oh God, this is it. Here we are. That's
Yeah.
crazy. On everyone else's like Thursday night performance.
Right? Exactly.
midweek, 2
Everyone
years
else
in.
is like, whatever.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Oh, I kind of remember that. Yeah, it's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so then what happens from there? You move on, you
What
audition for a
happens from
thing.
there?
When is
Yeah.
Bridges of Madison County like the next big thing? There's other big
The
things
next
between?
big thing was the Next to Normal tour. I went on tour with that as the Natalie cover.
I didn't even know you did that. Great.
Yeah. I did the Next to Normal tour. I was the Natalie cover. I went on like 6 times. It was
Sure.
crazy. I was understudying Emma Hunton,
Uh-huh.
who I had done Spring Awakening with. So I knew going into it, I was like, oh, she never calls out.
Right.
We're going to be great.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, a 9-month tour, she called out 6 times.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, that's the gig. And it was amazing. I love that show so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that for 9 months. And then like years later, because time moves very slowly when you're an actor.
Yes.
I did Bridges of Madison County, and I got the out of town production at Williamstown, and then I was really fortunate, and I got to move with it to Broadway, and that was in 2014.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2014. It sounds about right.
I
So
think,
at this point in time, you've worked with you've sung Tom Kitt's music, Duncan Sheik's music, now Jason Robert Brown's music. Like, it's like you're going down the list and you were like, let me just look at all the fancy contemporary musical theater composers that everyone in the world wants to work with, and I'll just like work with them all.
Yeah, and like it's so funny because like you listing that, I'm like, my voice doesn't fit any.
No, but it does. And we're going to talk about your voice. We're going to get to the end. Like the first time I heard your voice, it was like, oh my God, what is that?
Oh, hush your face.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, let's talk about your voice. So I think like, so much of musical theater singers, of course, it's your persona, right? It's you as a human, but so much of it is about your voice. And is it always, I mean, I saw the Prom more times than I saw it 6 times. I really liked it.
That's actually not that bad.
Oh, okay, good.
Like,
I was like, in
someone
the
saying they
grand
saw
scheme.
something 6 times. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I usually see something once. We never have time. But I saw it 6 times, and every single time it's clear as a bell. I mean, every single time. Do you ever have like a day where you're like, it's not happening today? Or are you like one of these Anthony
Yes.
Rapps, like chords of steel, like you wake up, drink a
No.
coffee, and are like, let's sing this really high note?
No, not at all. I feel like I used to be that way. Like I used to be able to just like roll out of bed and like do whatever, but age.
That's called your early 20s. Yeah. When I did Altar Boys at
So
25, I
fast.
was like, I was invincible. You hit 27 and your
Woo!
life's
Yeah.
like, good luck, 8 times a week.
But
That's crazy.
exactly. No, I don't have cords of steel. I try to be very kind to that instrument, and so I think that obviously helps. But yeah, it's so funny because like I don't consider myself a singer first. I think it's like I don't it's not in your face. I know. But like I don't know. I don't know. I just like yeah, I can sing, but it's to me it doesn't feel like
it's the
special.
combination of it. Well, okay. Well, we're not going to go down that road, but it is very special, and it is.
Thank you.
You love to see people recognize it, and these composers obviously recognized it. Okay, so then Jason Robert Brown, while Bridges of Madison County is an epic financial flop, if you talk to anyone who ever saw it, I know news. I don't know if you know, but every single person you've ever talked to who saw it and has heard the music is like, I will never understand how it didn't go well. So what is it like to be in an epic Jason Robert Brown news show where you're singing his original music with Kelly O'Hara and Whitney Basher and all of these people?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't go well.
Fucking incredible. I mean, like the thing with it not going well, like, and something that like really taught me, is that like that's the gig. You never know. You cannot. This sounds like very pessimistic of me, but I don't think it's pessimistic. I think it's actually optimistic.
Yeah.
That it's like you can't expect anything from it. You cannot put a cart before the horse. You know, you have to enjoy every moment of it because you don't know how long things are going to last. You know, like that just like the longest run I've done is 9 months. And like that's that's what it is, you know? And so you have to enjoy every single second of it because you don't know how long it's gonna last. And like especially on Broadway, you do not have any guarantee that something will make it or not.
Right. So. And so in the moment of creation of the show and Jason Robert Brown comes in with like new pages and is like, Caitlyn, sing this. And you're like, the State Fair. And it goes, and like, what is that? What is that like?
It's very strange. There actually was a really great moment. So there, like mine and Derek's parts were super weird. We were like this added plot point that was just like, oh, okay, cool. But I love doing it. And so we had Out of Town, State Road 21 was a different song. And they changed it for Broadway. And we got to like Broadway rehearsals and they still hadn't changed it. And Jason was working on it. And Jason pulled Derek and I aside into like a smaller studio. And he was like, this is what I'm like thinking about this song. I think it's going to go like this. And he like played it for us. And Derek and I were like, oh, he's just like giving us a hint of like what it is. Cool. Awesome. Great. This sounds awesome, Jason. And then like 2 days later, we like get to rehearsal and he's like, okay, so I wrote the song. Here it is. Caitlyn and Derek, do you just want to like sing it for them? And we were both like, oh, that was you.
That was you plunking notes
to us. Oh shit. Okay, cool. Right. You know? And we were both like,
wow.
Mm-hmm, yep. But it was a really lovely moment of like, oh my God, Jason Robert Brown just like played an original song for us. And my mind is blown.
Yeah.
His music is so good.
And how old were you when you did Bridges? Assuming it was 2014.
22, I think. 21.
Okay. Yeah.
In there.
Sure.
I don't know.
Somewhere there. Yeah, correct. You're like, what year is it now? It's global pandemic year. So here we are. Okay, let's fast forward in time and let's get to the show that like that maybe changes your life. I don't know. I don't want
Yeah.
to put words in your mouth, but
You can put those words in my mouth.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty incredible. So when do you get involved? When is the first thing you hear anything about it? When is the first moment you're like, oh, this could be really good?
Yeah. 2014. Everything happened in 2014. Bridges closed in like May, I think. And I did the first reading of Prom in December of 2014, which is crazy.
Wow.
And I auditioned for it like October, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, so that year was a big year for me. Yeah, so I did the first reading in December of 2014, and it was kind of like from day one that we all were like, this is special. And it wasn't about it being good or not. It was always good. We all knew that. But
Right.
it was about it being special. It was about it being different and unique and fresh and like meaningful,
Yeah.
which was so refreshing,
Yeah.
because you don't always get to work on shows that are meaningful. And so, yeah, from day one, it was everything.
And when it first, I remember one of my closest friends, Teddy Toy, which is why I initially started seeing the show so much, just hearing him talking about it and going to see it and then meeting you and meeting others and just falling in love with all of you. I feel like when he first started telling me about it, there was this whole beginning part that was like each of them like Forrest Gump, the musical, Goonies, the musical, Long Day's Journey into Night, the musical. Is that right?
You are correct. Yeah, when we did our lab in 2015, which is when Teddy joined, the opening number was very different than what it ended up. That opening number went through so many changes, but it was all of them in their opening nights of these new shows that were all like movie remakes, and they were like, we hate this. But yeah, it was Forrest Gump, Goonies, the musical, and Long Day's Journey into Night.
The musical, which is...
And each ended with like confetti cannons going off.
That's incredible.
Ridiculous.
I read that he was like, and then there was like a non-equity cast of Godspell, which I'm glad still made it in, and all of that.
Yep.
And I just remember him telling me about this, and I was like, what? And it's called The Prom? What's it about? And what?
Yeah.
And so that was my first little taste of it. And I was like, this is going to be either epically weird or like really really special and like touching, and then we know where it went. Okay, so then the first like time that people in the world get to see it is out of town Atlanta.
2016. Atlanta Alliance Theater,
and killing it. I love the Alliance, and it goes well. Talk to me about like the first performance. Well, it went very well. Talk to me about like the first. Talk to me about your character development as Emma. We have some questions. Here's a question from Tom, who we love. He says, "Hi, Caitlyn. Emma was such an inspirational character for so many young people. What was it like to originate such an iconic role? And can you share a memorable story of how you inspired someone?" So then talk to us also about like the process of creating that original character, but like making her very real.
Yes. So the out of town experience was so wonderful because we spent so much time. Like, we were there for 3 months, and we were only technically open for 2 weeks of that. So our show was only frozen and set for 2 weeks. Up until then, it was totally like exploring and learning and changing things and adding and taking away and like just working on it. So we got like a solid 2.5 months of like building this show and like showing it to audiences and getting their response and figuring out what worked and what didn't and what needed to change. And that's for a new musical, that's such an important time period. So we got to do all of that. That's when the opening number changed millions of times. But like what was so cool to me about the experience of Prom is that like Emma felt solid from day one. It was she was really clear on her intentions and her wants and needs and her voice from that very first reading. And I think like we obviously solidified it, and like I grew with her, and so she got more confidence and more depth along the way. But like they knew from day one who she was, and so it was really fun to be able to step into that and be like, oh, I can have fun with this and play with this, and it can mean something. And so to be able to play her for almost 5 years was insane. And like I grew so much as a person, getting to play her for that amount of time. You know, like I was 24 when we started. Like I was a completely different person. So growing with her was really special, and like it was even more special to be able to connect with people based on the show and her experience. I think that's one of the most incredible things about the prom, is that anyone can take something away from it. It's not just like, oh, well, teenage lesbians can get something from it. It's like, no, anyone can get something from this, and anyone can connect with any number of these characters. And so it was really special to be able to connect with people over Emma's journey and Emma's story and Emma's voice. And there are too many stories of like fan encounters, I'm sure, of like just pure honesty and like vulnerability, and like there's people still message me to this day being like, this show changed my life. So
I mean, it's the end of that. I mean, 6 times in, I forget who I went and saw it with the last time, but I mean, the 6th time in at that, when you come into the prom at the end, I mean, spoiler, or maybe not spoiler, there, end of Act 1, there's like this moment that is built one way and then it goes another way. And it's, for me, like as a musical theater historian, of like, it's like perfectly built to like for an intermission break. I mean, it's perfect. It gets the audience talking, and you like, your heart is crushed, and you're like, now what? And oh, I hate people and this poor girl. And, you know, it's so perfectly built that, I mean, I mean, you can just feel it. You just feel people connecting with it. In every step of the way. And even people that come on tours who are long since out of high school, maybe, you know, are not on the LGBTQ spectrum of any of that, you know, that are just like, oh, I connected it on like the like theater inside jokey, and then like what it's like to get older and have like moments that you missed in life, like Barry going to prom. And it's just, it was a really fun show to talk to people about because of what you say, the connections of everyone can connect. Okay, so then on the heels of that, you do the Thanksgiving parade, and it's the first lesbian gay kiss. It had two men, just lesbian, or just?
It was the first same-sex
kiss.
It was the first LGBT plus kiss on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is insanity that it took till 2019 to get there. But we got there. We changed some history. We made an impact for the better. It was incredible to be able to be a part of that moment of history. Like that's, I don't know. You think about all of these things just like happening in life, and then you're like, no, I was a part of that moment. And it was really special to be able to like show that to the world, that it's like, no, this is what love can look like.
It's
fine.
And it's and especially the Macy's parade, which gets out to so many people who aren't diehard Broadway people, of course, you know, so it's like the best type of theater that kind of transcends the lines of just the lane of people who see shows.
Exactly.
I love that you said that. It's rare that you're part of history. So much of our business and why the stories we tell on our tours are that a show comes in, and then the moment the show closes and is loaded out, you're back to just 4 walls and a ghost light. And it's like, the show's gone. It's gone. Maybe they keep a prop. Maybe there's a thing somewhere. But for the most part, it's like, unless you saw it or listened to the cast recording or it was streamed on Broadway HD, it's like, it's gone. And so it's those moments that are like truly historic that get logged somewhere. So then of course, the log that we keep every year is the Tony Awards. And we log who was the best and who was like crushing it that year. I remember me hearing your name called, so I cried. So I can only imagine.
I cried too.
Like what? Okay, so tell us. You're like watching. You're not watching. Tell me everything.
I was watching. It was one of those. It was interesting. I actually like had this conversation with a really good friend of mine because I was like, I was debating. I was like, because I did not think it was going the way it was.
No, I mean, who knows? I know. I was like, whatever.
And so I was like I ended up staying in a hotel because I was like, I want to like be outside of my comfort zone. I want to be able to just like be in a new and different space and like I'm a big like I connect emotions to things all the time for no reason. And so it's like I don't want this moment to like you're right. I don't want this moment to be able to like affect my living space. Like I want it to be like a separate entity of its own. And I had been talking to a friend and I was like, I don't even know if I want to watch it. Like I don't know if I want to like have that moment of letdown, you know, because again, that's what I was bracing myself for. Prepare for the worst and then you'll be golden. Well, it's fine. I'm fine. But anyway, I was talking to my friend about that and she was like, Caitlyn, if it goes your way, do you really want to look back and say that you missed that moment?
I like your friend.
And I was like, I love my friend. And I was like, no, you're right. I don't want to miss that moment. So I watched it with everyone else. I watched it on my little, it must have been on my phone. I don't know how I watched it, on my phone or my iPad or something like that. I don't remember. But I'd stayed at a hotel. I like woke up super early. I was like in my pajamas, looking like a mess. And I was just like watching it and they said my name and just tears. Because I don't know if you could tell from all of the previous things I've said, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so
you're an actor doing the lead role on a Broadway show. I feel like that's a common thread that gets you to that place, but sure.
Yep. Yeah. So I put a lot of pressure on myself and this felt like a huge like release of that pressure of like, I did my job. How dare I think that?
I know. I was like, come on.
I'm still doing my job, like no matter what. But like that in that moment was like, I did my job. I got that nomination. And that's what mattered to me, you know, like just that nomination. I'm like, after that, who cares?
Yeah.
Like whatever. But like I did my job. I got that nomination. I represented myself and my show well, and here we are. But yeah, I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I called my parents. I woke my dad up.
Oh, come on. Dad, get up, Dad.
Just the most dad moment ever. It was the best. I love him so much. Because of course, like it's at like what 8 a.m. in New York, which means it's 5 a.m.
Yeah, but get up,
Seattle.
Dad. Get up.
He's fine. But I called him and he was like, hello. And I was like, did I wake you up? And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, I'm woke you up. Yes. And I was like, he's like, what's up? And I was like, well, I just got nominated for Tony. He was like, oh my God, like that's amazing. Like all of the like correct responses. But he was like, I really thought that was at 8 p.m. I was like, no, Dad.
No, Dad. They're not going to make us wait all day. Correct.
Exactly. And then he was like, well, I guess it makes sense because you have a show at 8.
Thanks, Dad.
It's like, really? Yep. So I like called all the people and it was fantastic and wonderful. And then like what people don't, people don't see so much of what we do, but like what you don't see is then I was truly on the phone for the next 3 hours just talking to like different news outlets, different people, doing interviews, all of that, just like in my hotel, still in my pajamas, not even having like a moment to
process
breathe
anything,
or process
right?
Or any. You just have to start talking and like eloquently, and then you have to go and like get outfits for the next day because the next day is the press event before your 2 show day. So I like went to J. Crew and was like, I guess I'm wearing a skirt tomorrow.
Wow. And like just like that, your life is like in theory has changed. I mean, from now on, you are Tony nominated Caitlyn Kinnan.
Yeah, I have that little title.
Yeah, there's
it's
a little
like I'm not
asterisk.
Like Mr. like Mrs. Caitlyn. I'm Tony nominated Caitlyn.
It went from Broadway's Caitlyn Kinnan to Broadway's Tony nominated Caitlyn Kinnan.
Yes,
it's a lot. It's a mouthful, but it's a good mouthful.
It's a mouthful.
Yes. Okay, so we have some questions. Meg Fansler says, so these are a lot of prom related things. Wait, I want to show you what Tim said first. Tim says it was incredible seeing the show during World Pride. The crowds were incredible too. I also love the show when you did workshops in Atlanta. Tim, maybe we were sitting next to each other. I was there. I saw it a couple times in Atlanta.
Yes, you did.
And the wig changed. Your wig got different than
so much change.
So much change. I think for the better.
So much change. Oh yes, always changes for the better. My wig changed. A bunch of my costumes changed. My sneakers stayed the same.
They were like, we got the shoes right.
Small details. Yes. We got the shoes right.
Yes. Okay. Then at the end of it, Meg says, "Did you get to keep anything from the show?"
I love Meg. Hi, Meg. Okay. I did keep my socks.
Not even the shoes? I thought for sure they let you keep the shoes.
I did keep the shoes too, but I kept the socks.
Okay, great.
But like it's so stupid because like at the end of Broadway shows, you always get to keep your underwear because they can't reuse.
Right. You're like, thank you so
I got to keep my show underwear and my show socks.
Right. You're like, oh good, a pair of underwear that has my name in it. Perfect.
Exactly. I'm like, perfect. Need to know.
Right.
No, I kept the shoes.
I love that.
I think that's it.
And your Tony Award nomination pin, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I think that's in my jewelry box. I should look.
Okay, double check that. Carly Blatt says, the Prom's closing show is one of the most magical I've seen. What moments stood out most to you personally? Of closing, if you could process
Carly,
it.
hi. Yeah, that's a lot to process. I think like the whole thing, because like it's such a like a of emotions that just like hit and then stay with you from the second you walk on stage to the second that curtain comes down. You're just like, get through it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'll take away from it. I'm just like love and like keep going.
Yep. And opening night that I was there for, it was that snowstorm.
Oh my God.
And so it was delayed.
Like
the sound,
2 hours?
Right? The sound designer was stuck on a train, and Casey Nicola came out and was like, "Sorry, we're gonna start when we can."
Sound designer was stuck on the train. We were missing 3 orchestra members. It was insanity. It was insanity.
And so at that, because the opening night was so delayed, that by the time we got to the party, the reviews started to come out really quickly. And it was one of the best, if not the best, opening night parties, because every single one of you at like 10:04 p.m. looked up from your phone, and it was like a New York Times critic pick, musical comedy is alive and well again at the Longacre.
Opposite of the way our show opens, that it's like everyone at the party being like, oh no, our show's and we got the opposite of that, which was really lovely.
Yeah, I love that. Donna just came up with a question. Hi Donna, she's in Australia. It's 2:37 a.m. there. Donna, we'll answer your question
tomorrow.
Then go to bed. Go to bed. Do you have any pre-show rituals?
So many, Donna.
Do you have like
Let me tell you
things? Do you have?
Well, I always warm up. Always.
Sure.
I do my little warm up that I got, but I'm a crazy person. I don't know if you've caught on to the stress I put on myself through this.
Sure.
But like, okay, so normally a show, you're supposed to, as an actor, you have to be at the theater half an hour before curtain. That's half-hour call. That is our union rule of like, you have to be there half an hour beforehand. Most people just like wander in right at half hour and they're like, hey, I'm here, whatever, good to go. This bitch is like, you know what? I should be there 2 hours before just to like sit in the space and hang out. So I get there ungodly early, and I just I take my time warming up, putting my makeup on, just like twiddling my thumbs, saying hi to people. No, but that's actually like a pre-show ritual that I have, that like part of the reason I get there so early is that I have time to say hi to people. So during prom, it was like, okay, I am completely ready at the half-hour call, so that I then spend 15, 20 minutes going around the theater and saying hello to everyone, because to me, that's really important to be like, hello, how are you? I have not seen you yet today. We're about to do a show together. Go on me. I'd like to know where you're at emotionally before we start that. And so
I
for me,
have to
it's really important to like take that time.
to tell everyone watching that is rare.
Yeah.
That is not a thing that happens a lot. Most of the time you see someone as you're saying your first line and you're like, oh, weird. They look different today. Oh, interesting. I probably should have talked to them as a human before we all put on these clothes and pretended to be someone else.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's like old school. You're like classy old school.
I try to be, we can only do so much, but yeah. And especially like on Broadway, these theaters are so different. They're so spread out that it's like, if I didn't take the time to do that, the only people I would have seen were like Izzy and Courtney, that like they're who I shared my dressing room with. And so like they're who I would have seen, and I would have seen nobody else, because to get to everybody else, you have to like go up these staircases and like hop around, and sometimes even like go on the other side of the stage. Like everyone is so disconnected in this like small tiny space because it's just like all over the place. So to me, it's really important to like go and say hi to people. So that's like my most pre-show ritual.
And do you have anything right before you go on?
Right before I go on, also I'm just like there super early. Like I didn't go on until like 15 minutes before into the show. Yeah. And I was there like I was like on deck, which is like on the stage, ready to go at 5.
You're
to places.
A ridiculous human. That's what we call over-prepared, is what we call that. Mm-hmm. Rub it in. Rub it in when we're like places and I'm still brushing my teeth. Rub it in.
And I'm like, I've been here for 8 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, I've been here since 8 a.m. I had a question for you. Oh, not a question. This is from Instagram. Broadway Sammy says, not a question, but you're gorgeous and extremely talented. I just thought you should see that.
That is very kind of you, Broadway Sammy.
We all need some 9 a.m. Pep talks. Laura Neville from Instagram says, are you ever recognized in public? And if you were, would you prefer someone say hi or just kind of like giggle behind a garbage can and take a selfie from afar?
I definitely prefer you to giggle behind a garbage can.
Great.
No, please say hi, because it's so awkward when people don't say hi, because you think you're being stealthy, but you're not. I'm going to tell you, you're not. So just say hi like a normal human being, because I am also a normal human being. So just come and talk to me. But yeah, I've gotten recognized in super random places. One time I got recognized at the airport, not once, but twice in one go round.
Really?
Like, I'm not famous. What's happening?
They were like, I just wanna fly with you.
Someone did that though. Steve, this is like the creepy things that like, just say hi to me. I was in an elevator once. I forget at what building. It was like a random building. It was not one of the like audition buildings in New York, but I was in like a random building, and this guy got in the elevator behind me and just started humming Dance With You.
No,
like,
no.
No.
But it's the Izzy's part, so you could do the third, like off. People are. You're like, I get it, sir. Hi.
Yeah, just say hi. Just say hi.
You like blew on your Tony Awards pin, and you're like, yep, you nailed it, sir. Tom, we love Tom because he always ties a question into like why we're here, which is the Longacre Theater.
Yes,
since this week is about the Longacre Theater, any fun stories or unique experiences about working in that theater? And then on the heels of that, we have one other question that ties into that. And Sierra from Instagram says, any favorite backstage memories from the prom at the Longacre?
I mean, all of them. Okay, so like unique experiences at the Longacre. I'm going to just preface this by like any experience in any Broadway show is unique, because they're so, by Broadway show, I mean Broadway theater is unique because they are so completely different. Mm-hmm. And it's shocking how different they are, and the space there is available or the lack thereof. Broadway theaters are weird as shit. I should lead your tours, right?
Correct. I was like, you're hired? How are you looking green? One is weird as shit. I couldn't get down the stairs.
Weird as shit. You're welcome.
You're hired.
No, I was actually like, when we started, you were talking about theaters, I was thinking about like, because one of the things that's cool, like there are still shows in theaters that I haven't seen. Like I've never been in like, I don't know, there are Broadway theaters that I've never been in.
Sure.
And so to like think about like the Broadway theaters that I've seen shows in, and then the Broadway theaters that I've gotten to perform in,
Yeah.
and how different they are. And I was like listing, I was like, oh, what are the ones that I've actually gotten to like perform in? But they're so different, they're so unique. And so like the Longacre, it just is so teeny tiny and like lovely because of that. You know, you're forced to be in this like tight space with everyone. And so I think that was like really the most unique experience of like, let's put on this giant musical in the smallest space and see what happens, you know? And like, I don't know, I think that is wonderful. And I think the people who work there are incredible. Kenny, the house manager, love him. I love everyone in that theater and that space. They were so welcoming and so wonderful. Excuse me. And so like, yeah, just the whole experience at the Longacre was unique and wonderful and special, and I love that space.
This is Tom's final. He says the quote of the whole virtual tour series should be Broadway theaters are weird as shit.
I mean,
I don't know if it's going to be our tagline, but Tom, you're not
I think
wrong.
it should be. I think it should be. I think Tom and I are onto something. Hey, Jess. Yes.
Can we get Broadway theaters are weird as shit on a keychain? Jess, don't do this to me, because I now make custom merchandise, and I am making a note right now that I'm going to make a keychain, and it's going to be limited quantity. And it's going to say Broadway theaters are weird as shit. And it's going to be a keychain, maybe acrylic, maybe wood. Don't tempt me with a good merchandise idea.
I request acrylic. I request a limited run of like, like Broadway with Caitlyn Kinnan.
Sure. Broadway, and then when I make these, you guys have to buy them. I'm not just going to make them. And me and Caitlyn are like, remember that joke we had that then everyone was like, what is that? You guys are weird. So thank you. Great.
We'll buy them. I'll buy them.
We have two final. Talk to me, and then we have two final questions. Go. No, you go. No, you go. Okay.
I was just gonna say that like I don't have any like fun Broadway like backstage moments. The whole thing was backstage. I mean, we've got Josh Flamen and Brooks Ashmanskas in the same building, so like shenanigans are gonna happen
at all times. Two last questions. Angela, this is a quick one. She says, hi from Norman, Oklahoma. I know Tim's favorite theater, the Belasco. What is your favorite?
Oh, God.
Let's do what's your favorite that you've performed in so far? And then let's do that. What's your favorite you've performed? Yeah.
I think the Longacre. I really like it.
Yeah. Ooh. Genesis says, oh, a sticker and a button. Oh, now we're doing an entire line of merchandise. You guys, I'll think about it. Broadway theaters are weird as shit. Just says, take my money. I literally buy everything you make. You guys, I am happy for your support, and I will make you a niche keychain item. Okay, your final question, which I really liked, and it is from, I don't know. Now I got to see if I can find it. It's from someone who has your same name. Caitlyn, and it's spelled the same. Hi, Caitlyn, great name. You're an inspiration on so many levels. Can you highlight your other platform of having a health condition and your journey that you've shared a lot on social media? You're awesome.
Yeah. So for those of you watching who don't know, I have type 1 diabetes, which is a fun adventure of its own. But I think it's really important to be an advocate and like talk about it and bring light to it, because that makes it easier. You know, talking about anything makes it easier. And so like I'm an advocate for type 1 diabetes. I'm also an advocate for mental health, because I also live with anxiety and depression. And so going through all of those journeys as a performer is really challenging, but something that like a day at a time we figure it out, and we like learn what's helpful, what's not, what we need to like ask from others. It's a journey that we all go on, and it's important to be like kind to yourself and treat yourself with love and respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a huge, like, just talk about your shit. Get it
Yeah.
out there. Let people know what's going on, because then they can help you.
Yeah, you're not the only one. There's so
Yeah,
little in this world that you are the only one who's ever gone through that.
yeah,
That it's like, just tell someone.
exactly.
Especially, I think, like, do you enjoy? Do you love social media? Do you love using that as a platform? Are you like one of these people who like hates it, or is it like, I think there's so much good that can come from social media, but then there's so many
Yes.
people that there's so much garbage. Keyboard courage is like
Yes,
ruins
there's
my life a little
so
bit.
much garbage. I think it's like a medium of that. I wouldn't say love hate, but I'd say like love disdain. That
Sure.
it's like I'm really glad, because I strive for honesty, and like my
Yeah.
social media platform is gonna be honest, like no matter what, because I'm so sick of people, especially actors, being like, look at my perfect life. It's
Correct.
like, no, no one's life is perfect, and that's not a bad thing. So let's embrace that. So I really try to highlight that it's like, no, I'm just a person, and I've got struggles and deal with things and grow and move on from them. So like, let's talk about it. Again, it's all about talking about things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for social media for me is a really good place to be able to open those conversations with people, and I'm really fortunate that like I have a platform where people actually like care about what I say, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I take my responsibility in social media and being honest through social media very seriously, and therefore I really like it, because I get to be me, and I get to talk to people and hopefully help them.
Yeah. It's special. Yeah, like I say, it has its pitfalls, but especially now during a Broadway shutdown where people can't see you at a stage door or can't whatever,
Yeah.
it's see you out in real life, especially because so many people are not even in New York. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really nice way to connect, especially in this time where things are so unknown and all shut down. I love
Yeah.
that. You are a dreamboat. Thank you so much
You're a
for
dreamboat.
dreamboat. I'll put that on a keychain too. Caitlyn's a dreamboat. I'll sell one of them to you. How should we, for those who don't follow you, how should we follow you? Are you Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of them, none
Just
of them?
Instagram.
Okay,
I'm just on Instagram. I'm Caitlyn.Kinnunen. Easy peasy.
great,
But yeah, that's my only public thing.
great.
That's it. Just follow me. I think I'm
Follow her.
cool.
Yeah, well, duh. For the last 53 minutes, you've been awesome. You killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you can go back to sleep. You're awesome. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday noon on Broadway with us. We love you, and we
Thank
miss
you for having me.
seeing you at our just randomly running into you in Times Square is some of my favorite times of normal life. So we'll get back to that eventually at some point in life.
We will.
Thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of the shutdown. And
Thank you.
thanks
You
for
too.
spending your time.
Anytime. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Caitlyn. Isn't she incredible? I think we have to like take quotes of what I say when people sign off, and I think every time it's like I love them. These people, what you're going to find, or what I've found, is I talk to a lot of people who are really successful. And definition of like, we got a couple questions that were like, well, how do you know you've made it? And I think that's individual for every person. But what you find is when you talk to people who are very successful, there's a lot of perfectionists, which of course that's by nature, that's all part of it. Welcome to my life. But they're really honest, and they're really nice, and they're really genuine people. And the moment I met Caitlyn in Atlanta when they were out of town, the first thing I thought about her was like, she's so genuine. And I had met her before, I think I saw her in the show. And then she opens her mouth and sings and performs, and you're like, here's all my money. You're a dream. Like, you can probably sing anything. And indeed she does. So it's been a fun career to watch. And I think if you didn't know her, I think a lot of you, I'm sure, did. But if you weren't familiar with her work, she's definitely someone to keep an eye on in future shows and things once everything's back up and running. For those of you who are new to us, I hope you had a great time. Thanks for spending a little piece of your Saturday with us. We have an entire gift shop online that we don't sell Broadway theaters our weird as shit keychains yet, but I'm going to work on it. You guys think I'm lying, but I'm a man of promises, and it's in my to-do list. And when things get in my to-do list, well, If you know me, they get done. So if you are looking for anything shy of those keychains, which I haven't produced as of yet, you can do that at our website, broadwayupclose.com/souvenirs. We just came out with some stuff that I gave a sneak peek of last week with Squigs, the artist who did an illustration of our Broadway sign, as well as a series of Lights of Broadway cards. We have nothing new coming out this week, but the following week, we have some really cool other new stuff that I'm working on. I'm currently out of town visiting family with Belasco, my French bulldog and company mascot in Michigan. So I'll be running remotely a little bit. But if you order anything, my green team staff member, Rob, is my man in charge right now in New York City, who's taking care of your shipping and packages. So feel free to send your orders our way. If you don't follow us on social media, you should. Why not hang out with me more? I'm really fun. At Broadway Up Close is our Instagram, Facebook. You're here watching it live, so you should just hit like and get all our updates. And as always, we have every day a theater video about what theater we're featuring that week. And on Monday, we go forward in time to 1917. And one of my best friends is our guest next week, who I think you'll know and I think you'll love. Thank you for spending your Saturday noon on Broadway with me here. As I always say, we are now officially one day closer to Broadway. Who knows when it'll be, but we're one day closer. Thank you so much, and have a great Saturday, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.